Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Corson Schmidt. Here today, I have one of my clients, Mark Swanson. Mark is the co-founder of Kinetic Metrics and a respected automotive expert with 27 years of experience spanning product development, government safety investigation, and compliance consulting. With a degree in manufacturing engineering from Central State University, Mark has built a career at the intersection of vehicle design and regulatory oversight. Today, Mark helps manufacturers and suppliers navigate compliance and safety challenges, drawing on his unique experience from both the private and government sides of the automotive world. It's great to have you on, Mark.
Thanks, Corson. It's a pleasure to be on.
No worries. So, before we really start diving into it, do you mind just kind of taking us through your background and what first drew you to the automotive industry 27 years ago?
Yes. Probably like most engineers in this space, as a kid, always had a love for vehicles. So just collecting vehicles, the models as a kid, having posters of vehicles, reading car magazines. Always had a love for vehicles as a kid. But at the same time, I had a love for manufacturing. Just figuring out how things were made. As a kid, I remember, taking apart our television, trying to figure out VCRs in the household. So just always had this love for trying to figure out how things were made, which kind of led me to studying manufacturing engineering in college. And then at the same time, just being a manufacturing engineer, kind of into how cars are being built. It wasn't so much the design side back then. It was more just, I loved to see how things were put together and how things were made. So that led me to pursue a career in the automotive industry, which eventually led to the manufacturing side and the design side.
That's awesome. So that's hilarious. You started pulling TVs apart when you were a kid. That's crazy, because I bet you no one in this day and age would even attempt that with the flat screens we have now, but I think your TVs were just a little bit more simpler back then.
Yeah, these were tube TVs, and believe me, got in a lot of trouble for doing stuff like that too. So,
so what services do you guys offer at Kinetic Metrics?
Kinetic Metrics, we offer a plethora of services, everything from NHTSA safety compliance and compliance training. So we work with manufacturers to help them meet all the compliance requirements, all the safety standards, making sure they're meeting all the braking requirements, the seat belt, airbags, seats, things of that nature. But we also train manufacturers so that they understand and are up to date on all the latest compliance requirements as well. We also work with the manufacturers if they have new technology to bring that on board to make sure it meets all the compliance requirements as well. We offer quarterly letters to clients as well. So that's something that we've been trying to work on and push out a little bit more. So if a manufacturer or even a supplier wants to know the latest and greatest on what's happening on that regulatory side, we actually provide a newsletter to keep them up to date on that stuff as well.
Okay, nice. Do you see the compliance side of the industry changing quite often now with new EV models and AV models kind of on the edge? Have the regulations changed lately, and do you see them changing in the near future?
That's a yes and no. It's slow to change, but it needs to change at a pretty faster rate for the American manufacturers to stay competitive in this market. Overseas, they just have less red tape to jump through, so they're able to push through regulations a little bit quicker. So changes are definitely coming, but it's just a little bit slower on our side. Yeah.
Okay. What is the core mission of Kinetic Metrics, and how do you guys differentiate your business from other compliance and engineering consultancies?
Our mission is always to provide efficient solutions, promote safety, integrity, and durability. And the way that we differentiate ourselves from other clients, from other consulting firms, is that we basically have the experience coming from the manufacturing side and the regulatory side. We've also been in business for the last 9 years, helping clients from small to larger manufacturers, from traditional combustion engines all the way to electric vehicles, even working with some autonomous vehicle manufacturers. but also our longevity. A lot of our competitors, you basically have situations where some folks may work for the regulatory and then retire, and then they try to do consulting for maybe a few years. But Emily and I are a lot younger. Our business is here to stay. So it's not like we're a fly-by-night situation. So we're in it for the long haul. It's not an overnight situation. Our clients can expect us to be here for the long term.
So you have a background in the government sector as well in the NHTSA sector. Do you mind speaking a little bit about your background and how it's guided you through this journey?
Yes. I began my career back in 2002 working for the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. In that office, I was an investigator. Investigators are the ones that lead the investigations into defects, which potentially leads to safety recalls. I spent around 5 years as an investigator, then I transitioned to another division, which actually was the screening group back then. And that screening group was responsible for going out and finding the issues that the investigators potentially look into. So that screening division, we had a lot more interaction with the public. We're the ones that reached out to consumers that actually had complaints on vehicles. We requested parts to verify that the problems were actually taking place in the field. And we put together that data to support the office opening an investigation. So we had a bit of it was a lot more fast-paced. We worked on a lot more issues than the typical investigators do. So it was a very challenging and fulfilling career.
For sure. How does that dual perspective with the government side and the consulting side now benefit your clients that you guys are working with at Kinetic Metrics?
It definitely benefits them because we really have a broader perspective. Having been on the inside working for the government and actually interacting with manufacturers, so now we get to see how it feels on both sides of the fence. We can relate to the questions that they have, and we also have that inside knowledge to understand how NHTSA will perceive certain questions or safety issues. So we definitely have that advantage to basically consult any supplier, any manufacturer to understand how that world within NHTSA works.
And you guys have that knowledge too, so they don't have to do all that research. You guys have that knowledge. You know where to find that research with your background, which makes it super easy for your clients themselves. That's amazing.
And that is our big advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Can you tell us about a rewarding project or achievement that you guys have done working with a client?
Yes, we've worked with a manufacturer by the name of Zeekr, and they basically have a U.S. side. They have a kind of a combined organization where they're working with the European manufacturers as far as the technology group. And then they're based in China. So we've actually worked with them for the past few years to help them meet compliance for the vehicles that they're going to bring over to the state side. So it's been very rewarding to actually go from working with them on the early design side to actually seeing vehicles on the road. So that's been very rewarding to see that.
For sure, that's quite the journey, especially with them starting off in another continent and bringing it over to America and being through there the whole process. That makes it super exciting when you see that vehicle sitting on the ground ready to roll out of that manufacturing plant. Very
much so. It's pride as well. I mean, I can tell my family and friends, hey, by the way, I actually helped get that vehicle on the road here.
That's awesome. Who's your biggest role model through your entrepreneurial journey?
As far as role models, I have some family members that actually ventured into the entrepreneurial space before I actually began that process with my business partner, Emily. So watching them go through that same process and having the courage to step out on their own was very fulfilling in a lot of different ways, but just definitely having family and friends who have already gone down that road was very encouraging and gave me the belief that I could do it myself as well.
Definitely push you just a little bit harder to get those results and really fill your shoes with where you want to go, right?
Definitely.
How have the safety regulations and requirements changed from the beginning of your career, and then now where we are now in 2025?
Yeah, it's almost a night and day situation, to be honest with you. And it's not like I've been in the industry that long, but within that 20-year space, I mean, you've basically had advanced crash avoidance technology, and that's the technology that can either detect a pedestrian that's in front of your vehicle, it can detect other vehicles. You have the advanced braking that applies to those situations where if the vehicle detects a person, an object, or a vehicle, it can actually start to apply the brakes just in case the consumer is not completely aware of the situation. I mean, you also have the lane departure technologies that if a driver starts to get drowsy or for whatever reason starts to merge, the vehicle will actually correct them. So you have a lot of technologies that have come into place that helps prevent crashes and just allows for a more safer experience.
For sure, yeah. It's definitely something that can cause, or it can be safe in the vehicle as long as they're maintained properly. I feel like that's the biggest thing, because your sensors can get out of whack a little bit, and it's not going to be maybe as fast. It's not going to react as fast as it used to. Do you see all these new technology maybe causing difficulties in the future now that the technology is going to get older and older? Do you think it's going to cause some defective sensors, or stuff is going to work properly? Your car's just going to stop in the middle of the road because it thought it saw something? Do you think that's going to happen, or do you think the manufacturers did an amazing job of building these out and really thinking through the process before implementing?
I do think the manufacturers have done an amazing job, and they've done a great job testing a lot of the new technology before it hits the market. But at the same time, that's why the regulator exists. Mm-hmm. So you always have potentials where anything that's designed can fail. Any mechanical part can fail. So you'll always have potential where there will be defects and there will be parts that fail. But hopefully the manufacturers have done a good enough job and going in just into the future that they'll be able to remedy those issues a lot sooner than in the past.
For sure. One thing I've always wondered is the new headlights. They're like, so your old headlights, you had an incandescent bulb that has the yellow tinge to it. The newer headlights, they all have that bluer tinge that blinds you whenever you drive by someone. Right? You know exactly. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. What are the regulations behind that? And are they pushing more towards the blue because you can see? You're supposed to be able to see further and see better, but you really can't see if you're driving towards this person, so it doesn't really even out properly. What's the regulation behind that?
Yeah, and that one is kind of tricky because at times it could be a situation where the oncoming vehicle may not have their lights adjusted correctly, but by design, the lights are tilted in a way that they can actually see the road signs. But if it's not adjusted correctly, it may actually veer more into the oncoming traffic, which is not a very good situation. But the high intensity lighting systems were definitely put in place to allow vehicles and the consumers to see a little bit the road clearer. But it is a side effect that the lights are a lot more brighter, so it can be a little bit distracting at times. But if it's done right, then it won't exactly be in the direct eyesight of the oncoming traffic.
Fair enough.
And then you still have situations where they may have their high beams on and stuff like that. So it's a lot of weird stuff that still happens with lighting. But if it's done correctly, it shouldn't really cause like a blinding situation to the oncoming traffic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a lot of the time it's the trucks, and I'm assuming they lift their truck or they level it, put bigger wheels on it, and it just raises that a little bit, so it shines right in your eyes, and it's absolutely terrible. Yep. It's the worst.
Yeah, that's not a good situation, but like you said, it's probably because when a vehicle comes from the manufacturer, it's already met all the requirements as far as compliance. Yeah. But once you take it to the aftermarket and you start making adjustments, you lift it, already the lights are in a different angle. So those type of adjustments should be made, but a lot of shops probably don't do that, or people do it on their own on top of that.
Yeah, for sure. What new technologies are you seeing? Because we kind of spoke earlier that throughout your career you saw all these technologies, lane departure, whatnot. What new technologies do you see coming into the industry, and are there some that you're excited about? Like, I know AV's a huge talk right now. Are there any other technologies that you're hearing about, and how are they going to change those regulations in that regulatory perspective?
Yeah, the AV is very exciting, and with the AV, just all the safety advantages that come with that. So, whereas in the past you may have, we understand it's not always, possible for people to have complete focus when they're driving. So there's a lot of distraction that happens, whether that's your audio system, your radio, talking on the phone, or maybe even eating, or all these things that are happening while people are driving. But with all this new technology, it just takes that element away and allows that person to maybe focus on some of these things, and the vehicle still maintains safety for that driver as well as the other vehicles on the road. So I love all the new technology. That definitely makes our roads a lot more safer. I love the new technology as far as fuel economy with all these electric vehicles. People are getting much more better mileage on their vehicles. So anything of that nature, I'm very excited about and look forward to that.
For sure. Emily and I were joking when we did our podcast about how you can. She said vehicles are about the safest they can be right now with all your technologies and everything inside the vehicle. The least safe part of the vehicle is the person driving it, because there's so many distractions in a vehicle now, right? You have your phone, you have your big screen radio, like there's so many little distractions you can get that can cause accidents, but the vehicles are the safest they've ever been, and they're probably the safest they'll ever be until we get to that AV that will actually control your vehicle. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's still a lot of human error that causes a lot of vehicle crashes. So eliminating a lot of the distraction, which is what a lot of this new technology will do. So at the same time, hey, if you want to eat, you can eat and concentrate on your food. You're worrying about what's happening on that road. So eventually we'll get there, but I definitely look forward to that.
For sure. Yeah, it'll be quite the space when they start bringing them in and actually putting them on the road. It's kind of going to be scary, right? You can be driving down the road, someone's in the path. I guess you'd still have to be in the driver's seat, but someone could be napping and you just see a car drive by you. That'd be almost scary. But it's the way of the future.
I actually rode in a vehicle, a Waymo vehicle, a couple months ago in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And, it's amazing how the technology works. There's no driver. The vehicle picked me up. I requested the vehicle to take me to the airport. It pulls up, has my initials on there, so I knew which vehicle was mine. Through their app, I unlocked the vehicle, got in, seatbelt on, and we were off. And it merged, it stopped the traffic signs, it
crazy.
Stopped. It did everything correctly. It got me to the airport safely, so I was very impressed.
That's all that matters, as long as you get there safely.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to companies navigating today's complex environment of vehicle design, compliance, and safety standards?
What we like to tell manufacturers or even our suppliers that just know the history on the safety side as far as defects when it comes to your either vehicles or your components. Because knowing that history can save you heartache and a ton of money in the long run. So by designing your vehicle or those parts to actually reflect just some of the past problems that the industry has had, you're going to save money, you're going to save your company's reputation, so you're just going to save money in the long run by having that advanced knowledge up front.
For sure. And what are the major mistakes that you see some of these companies making, and how can they avoid some of these mistakes they are making?
It seems like history repeats itself often. A lot of these defects are things that keep reoccurring. So it's like if you had that knowledge that this is how our parts tend to fail in the field, then you should be able to do a better job of designing that a little bit more robust up front, and that will prevent a lot of these issues from reoccurring in the field. And then just have that better ability to detect issues in the field. So whether that's using AI to understand, if there's news articles out there, blogs, or anything like that that is mentioning your vehicles or your parts, having that ability to just know what's happening in the field a lot sooner will actually save suppliers, manufacturers a lot more money up front.
For sure. And you guys offer a program that will help companies with that, correct?
Yes, we do. Yeah. So we kind of co-developed an AI kind of dashboard technology that will allow manufacturers to not only be able to pull together all the past investigations and safety recalls within the NHTSA space, but it also allows you to kind of comb the web scrape, all the newspapers and all the blogs and all these things for information that's related to your vehicles. And that type of information is very valuable because it will allow you to do things a lot sooner, which saves your reputation as a manufacturer and saves you money in the long run.
And you see events that are happening a lot sooner, that maybe articles that you didn't see, and you see them a month later and it's almost too late. The word's out there, people aren't happy with your product, etc.
Correct.
And it can ruin your reputation pretty quick.
Yes, exactly. Because oftentimes, and we're all consumers, it's almost like the last person you're going to reach out to complain about an issue is either the government or the vehicle manufacturers themselves. So most people, you're either going to chat online, you might, it might be on social media. You're going to do something of that nature to complain about an issue because it's a lot quicker just to go online and post something like that than to actually reach out to a manufacturer or to reach out to the government. So oftentimes, if you can capture that data up front, it speeds up the process a lot quicker.
For sure. And you guys work with companies not only in North America, you guys work worldwide, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So we have worked with some clients out of the Asian market, Europe. So we're definitely global and look forward to working with as many manufacturers that want to come to the U.S. market as possible.
Do you see the compliance managers or the engineers starting to become more and more familiar with the safety standards themselves, or is it something that they still need outside knowledge from professionals like yourself and Emily?
They will have knowledge, but to get into that, into the weeds of it, it takes someone that's been there and actually has that inside knowledge. Usually, they'll have a high level understanding of the different safety standards, but we're able to go granular and really get into the weeds and really get into the details to help to make sure that all the manufacturers are actually meeting all the requirements.
Make sure they don't have any defects by the time it leaves the building, so they don't have to come back and restart, basically. That's awesome.
Yes.
Are there any new service offerings or markets you guys are considering as the company keeps growing?
Definitely anyone in that AV space, and that could be the AV technology companies like themselves. You have situations now where you have companies that are specializing just in the technology, whether it's the radars and the sensors, and then they're just kind of putting that technology onto electric vehicles. So helping them understand that regulatory market and their responsibilities when it comes to that will be an advantage for all companies. So we look forward to working with anyone in that space, electric vehicles, the AVs, anything in those spaces.
For sure. Emily and I were kind of talking about this from what I remember. In the early 2000s or 90s even, I feel like manufacturers made vehicles really well. They made them to last, and they wanted their vehicle to be one of the best vehicles. And then I feel like the 2010s, manufacturers kind of started getting out of that, and they started not having defects, but they the vehicles just didn't last as long, so people would come back and buy a new vehicle. That's my opinion now. That's not truly what happened with the manufacturers. Do you see the manufacturers building a stronger, better, long-lasting vehicle like the early 2000s? Do you see them bringing that back now? Just my opinion once again. Do you see them bringing that back now that they're looking out for the consumer, making the best vehicle possible, making it last the longest, or you still think they're cutting a little bit of corners to make sure you're coming back and buying that vehicle in 10 years? Or
Honestly, it's always a situation where
it's a tough question.
it's tough, but I think all manufacturers do try to make the safest and the best quality vehicle they can. At times, I think, in my opinion, if a manufacturer gets too large and there's too many moving pieces, there's too many plants, there's too many models, I think that's when you can get into some quality issues. But the smaller manufacturer is, if you think of like a specialty manufacturer like a Ferrari or something like that, their vehicles are hand built. When you're doing hand-built situations, then you can really focus on that quality and make a superior product. But once you get into that mass production realm, then it's up to your quality departments and making sure that you're on top of your suppliers and things of that nature. And we do talk to a lot of the companies we work with about things of that nature too. Just understanding and how they can keep track of issues in the plant, which will help them prevent defective part from going onto the field. So as we go through, the safety standards and things of that nature with manufacturers as well, we do provide them with information on quality in the manufacturing environment, because that's part of it's like two sides of the same coin. So they have better quality, you have better products in the field as well.
For sure, and that's one of the biggest. As a manufacturer, that's what they should want to bring out is a quality product that's going to keep people coming back. Even if the vehicle lasts 30 years, they're going to be happy that it lasts 30 years because they'll come back and buy that same vehicle, newer model.
Yep.
But that's what manufacturers, engineers should be trying to build, is something that's going to last, something that's going to bring people back at the end of the day to that dealership, buy that another vehicle, and just keep the cycle going, right?
Yep.
Has there been a moment when you realized a true impact of your work for a certain client?
I think kind of like how I mentioned earlier, that just when I was, actually on my recent trip to Phoenix, I saw one of the vehicles that we worked with Zeekr to meet compliance actually on the road, and it kind of blew my mind a little bit. I was like, wow, there's actually one of the vehicles that we worked with for the past couple years to actually meet compliance. So that was very rewarding just to see that. But we're always, any project we work on and it comes to a completion, we feel good about that. And so things of that nature apply to there as well.
For sure. What seems to be the toughest thing for manufacturers to get around, the toughest safety standard for manufacturers to navigate through, and that they come to you guys for help with?
Well, I think the industry in general, it will be the one for lighting. So it's FMVSS 108. So the lighting one is very tricky for even the reasons how you mentioned earlier, if it's too bright. So that's a very long and tough standard to meet. And manufacturers are always coming up with new technology. They want a new fancy light. They want this light to have multiple lights at the same time. And there are restrictions on the color, the placement, and things of that nature. So everyone wants very cool lighting, but helping them understand that at the same time it can be cool, but it has to meet these requirements, and these are the reasons why. So that's something that we always find we get questions about from a lot of manufacturers. Yeah.
Do you see these standards being really behind for the vehicles that are coming out today? Do you see them that they should be updated for the vehicles that are being manufactured and rolled out as of right now? Or do you think they're pretty par with the vehicles that we're creating at the moment?
They're robust, but like at the same time, a lot of new technology is coming on board, and definitely some things should be updated. I mean, currently we don't have any standards that really reflect the autonomous like vehicle market. Mm-hmm. So even to allow those vehicles to be on the road, a lot of those standards need to be updated. Kind of how you mentioned earlier, you'd have to have a steering wheel and all these things in the driver's seat, and that's part of the standard. But if you update them to allow autonomous vehicles, then why would you need a driver's seat? Why would you need a steering wheel?
Fair enough.
That's required at this time. So just things of that nature, and just updating to make sure that they're like meeting the demands of the public, but also just maintaining safety as well.
That's very true. Yeah, we want to make sure we have the safest vehicle at the end of the day. And
yeah,
that's what the manufacturers want to do as well, right? That's why we have the standards in place. Throughout your journey in the automotive industry, what are some of the most important lessons that you have learned?
I think for us, it's just being honest with our clients about the tasks that we've been given and how we'll meet them. Oftentimes, there's timing issues. We're just understanding the amount of work it actually takes to actually complete that task. So being honest about that, and also just doing the best job every time will allow your reputation to lead more clients to you. So always doing the best job, because it's a small world out here. So your reputation will always be out there.
For sure. You guys want to make sure you're having that biggest impact for your clients, giving them the true knowledge that you guys have from being in this space for quite some time.
Correct.
If people wanted to reach out to work with Kinetic Metrics, speak to Emily, where could they find you guys? Are you guys on social medias, your websites and whatnot?
Yes, you can definitely reach out through our website. That's www.kineticmetrics.com. Also, we are on social media. I believe we do have an Instagram account, even though we don't use that very often. We are also on LinkedIn. So either myself, Mark Swanson, or Emily Reichert on LinkedIn. But definitely through our website, if you reach out through there, there's a section there where you can actually reach out and contact us to request information.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, Mark, speaking about Kinetic Metrics. It'll go well with Emily's episode if people wanted to learn more about you or Kinetic Metrics yourselves. Go watch Emily's podcast as well. It's super well. You guys can get to know her background and kind of where she came from and her knowledge in the industry as well. Mark, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate speaking with you. It's a pleasure speaking with you as always, and I really hope I can help you guys get some results in the next couple of weeks and bring some clients on for you guys.
Thanks, Corson. It's been a pleasure as well, and look forward to our continued relationship of reaching out to manufacturers, and really appreciate the work you've been doing, and it's been going very well, so thank you.